Previously on From, Sarah got adopted by the creepiest girl alive, Jade found magic mushrooms, and Ethan convinced half the town to go look for a magical healing lake because apparently nobody here learns lessons anymore. So before we continue, make sure to subscribe and like the video, because unlike the residents of Fromville, at least you still have the option to enjoy this. Now let's get into Season 4, Episode 4, because this episode was absolute madness. Boyd and the other key characters are gathered in the sheriff's station, talking about the yellow suit Victor found in the woods. And from Henry's reaction, this dude has been around for a very long time. Henry told them that Miranda painted the man in yellow years before she even entered Fromville, which once again proves this place was calling people long before they arrived. Miranda saw him. Victor recognized him. Julie saw him kill Jim. And now everybody is slowly realizing this thing has probably been manipulating every cycle of the town. And what makes it even scarier is that Victor didn't just recognize the jacket. Just think about what Victor has seen. He's survived massacres. He's seen the monsters' tunnels. He's dealt with creepy ventriloquist dolls and giant spiders. None of that broke him. But the second he sees that yellow jacket, the man literally wets himself. That tells you everything. This isn't just another monster. This is Victor's ultimate nightmare. Of course, leave it to Jade to deliver the line of the night. While Tabitha is trying to be serious, Jade just casually drops, "Yeah, I saw a grown man wet his pants," in front of the man's dad.
Well, Victor obviously recognized it.
He didn't just recognize it, I watched a grown man wet his pants.
I love Jade. He is unintentionally hilarious, but honestly, he's the most competent person in the room. While Tabitha is still having a skepticism crisis, even after being shoved out of a magic lighthouse into Maine, Jade is fully locked in. He's the only one who hears insane, supernatural information and immediately starts taking notes. He treats the town like a puzzle he's determined to solve. Donna then brings up the mushrooms Jade found, and she's clearly worried this man is about to speedrun his own death. But Boyd basically says they're out of options. And honestly, I'm with Boyd on this one. Boyd's mindset works a little differently. He knows the risk that comes with it, but it's worth every try. In Boyd's perspective, since the boy in white literally told Tabitha they're running out of time and nobody even understands the rules of this place yet. At this point, if eating weird forest mushrooms is what it takes to get answers, then screw it. Let Jade become the Fromville version of Walter White. We've tried everything else. It's time to get weird. Then Tabitha asks Boyd for a moment, alone with Jade, and immediately starts questioning why he was out in the woods with Ethan. Jade explains Ethan believes in the Lake of Tears and thinks it can heal people. And honestly, Ethan's logic kind of makes sense in From standards. This is a place where trees teleport people, dead people call through phones, and monsters smile like they're auditioning for a toothpaste commercial. So why wouldn't there be a magical healing lake? Tabitha apologizes for how she treated Jade back at the barn before leaving. The second she walks out, Jade wastes absolutely no time and starts popping mushrooms. Meanwhile, Ethan is still trying to contact Jim through the radio. Ethan genuinely believes his dad is still out there somewhere. Then Tabitha comes in and asks why he didn't come to her about the Lake of Tears. He told her that she wouldn't have believed him. And instead of shutting him down immediately, Tabitha finally makes a smart parenting decision for once and agrees to go searching for the lake with him. And I kinda understand why Ethan didn't tell Tabitha earlier, because every time somebody asks her a question, she responds like she's in witness protection. "Mom, what happened in the woods?" "No, Julie, I can't talk about it right now." "Mom, are you connected to Miranda?" "I don't want to talk about it." "Mom, are we reincarnated?" "Not now, Ethan." At this point, even the monsters probably stopped asking her questions, but now she kind of made a good parenting move instead of shutting him down immediately. Tabitha agrees to go searching for the lake with him. Then we cut back to Sarah's house, and the vibes are officially get out. Sophia is going through the priest's belongings while Sarah tries figuring out why this girl wanted to stay with her of all people. Sophia hits her with, "I knew you were kind the moment I met you." Yeah, okay, that sounds fake as hell. Because let's be real, Sophia didn't choose Sarah because she's kind. She chose Sarah because Sarah is vulnerable and connected to the voices. And then Sophia starts whispering some creepy prayer or chant under her breath, and suddenly Sarah starts hearing the voices again. This basically confirms Sophia or the man in yellow has some level of control over whatever force talks to Sarah. And that is bad. Back in Season 1, the voices pushed Sarah into killing Toby and nearly killing Ethan. And now it's becoming more and more obvious that the man in yellow was probably behind those voices the entire time. Sarah later explains to Elgin that the voice told her to go to the diner, pour a glass of water from the pitcher, take one sip, and pour it back in. It sounds harmless, but Sarah knows better than anyone that these voices never ask for random things without consequences attached. And the terrifying part is the punishment system. If she refuses, somebody gets hurt. So Sarah is trapped in this psychological torture where even something as simple as drinking water suddenly feels dangerous. In this scene, Sophia is standing outside near the pool while Marielle and Christy are watching her through the diner window, clearly worried about her mental state. Inside the diner, Sarah walks in, carrying out the strange instruction the voices gave her earlier. She pours herself a glass of water, takes a sip, and just as she's about to pour it back into the pitcher, Bhakta suddenly walks over, and by offering Sarah her job back, it creates this heartbreaking moment of hope. And you can see Sarah hesitating. For a second, she's trying to resist the voices. She even asks Bhakta if she can dump the water out for her instead, almost like she's desperately trying to avoid completing the ritual herself. But the second Sarah refuses to obey, Sophia suddenly throws herself into the pool, or more likely she was thrown by the force controlling the town. Everybody inside the diner rushes outside to save her, and Sarah immediately realizes what just happened. The voices weren't bluffing. They punished Sophia because Sarah didn't follow instructions. The voices don't just manipulate people mentally anymore. They can physically hurt other people as leverage. So Sarah goes back into the diner completely shaken, drinks from the glass, and pours the water back into the pitcher exactly the way the voices wanted. After they pull Sophia out, things get even darker. Her hand is shattered, but she isn't crying. She's preaching. She starts talking about Abraham and Isaac, the ultimate biblical story of blind obedience. In the story, God asks Abraham to kill his own son just to prove he'll do it, only to swap the son for a ram at the last second. And honestly, Sophia isn't randomly quoting scripture here. She's explaining what just happened. Sophia is basically testing Sarah. You can tell this is basically just a warm-up. She's conditioning Sarah to obey without question, so that when the real sacrifice is demanded, the Isaac moment, Sarah won't hesitate. It's terrifying because it suggests the man in yellow, or the forces of the town, are looking for a high-level executioner, and they've chosen Sarah for the job. But it looks like the story is reversed. If the water was the ram, who is the Isaac? This scene basically guarantees that the next thing the voices ask Sarah to do is going to be something life-shattering, and now she knows exactly what will happen to the rest of the town if she says no. Then we cut to Victor, and he's back to his old habits, measuring the trees with Henry. Now, usually we just call Victor eccentric, but after we saw poor Dale get physically fused into a stone wall in the pool, yeah, I'm officially on Team Victor. If the guy says the trees are moving, the trees are definitely moving. But Henry isn't there for a landscaping report. He wants the truth about the man in yellow. Victor finally takes him to his stash of buried drawings, and this scene is pure nightmare fuel. Victor reveals that the man in yellow didn't just appear as a ghost or a monster. He arrived exactly like everyone else. He was driving a car. He was pretending to be friendly. He was acting like just another victim, which is basically what Sophia is doing right now. Then Victor reveals the worst part. When he found Miranda near the bottle tree, he saw the man in yellow eating her, not killing her, eating her. That right there changes everything about this entity, because the monsters hunt people and leave the bodies behind once the fun is over. But the man in yellow? He consumes. This feels personal, ancient, and ritualistic. Then we get Julie and Randall reading Ethan's books together, and Randall finds a story about Storywalker Fred, an elevator repairman who could jump between stories and timelines. This might be one of the biggest lore drops in the episode because it seems like Julie's ability of storywalking existed before her. Then Tabitha arrives at the bus and tells Julie to pack for the trip. Julie says she'll be fine staying with Randall, which immediately activates protective mom mode in Tabitha. She pulls Randall aside and basically tells him, "Julie trusts you, and if you break that trust, I'll hurt you." And Randall's probably thinking, "Lady, I literally survived cicadas eating my soul." Again, Julie and Randall, they're reading the Grand Gulligog and learning more about storywalking. The book explains that Storywalker Fred could control which chapter he visited by creating bookmarks, and Julie immediately locks onto this idea. Randall thinks it's just a children's book, but Julie makes a great point. Everything in this town sounds impossible until it actually happens. What if these books were inspired by visions of the town? What if the author saw this place in dreams the same way Tabitha did? What if this place leaks into the real world through visions and nightmares? Julie even believes Ethan bringing the book into town wasn't random. And honestly, she might be onto something. Every game has instructions. Every system has rules. But this town never explains itself directly. So what if the guidebook has been sitting in Ethan's backpack the whole time? At Colony House, Fatima helps Ellis pack while Donna tells Kenny to keep an eye on her after Ellis leaves. Then Tabitha, Ethan, Donna, and Ellis started their journey. And the moment Ellis leaves, Fatima immediately rushes back upstairs where Elgin has been secretly carrying dirt into Colony House all episode long. At first I thought maybe she's trying to bury Elgin alive, but now it honestly feels more spiritual than that, like she's trying to create something. Kenny notices water leaking from upstairs, and when he opens the door, he finds Fatima literally building something out of the dirt Elgin brought her. Then he goes to tell Boyd about it. Meanwhile, Boyd opens Abby's old box and finds the ring with the infinity symbol. Then Jade calls Boyd and asks if he's really seeing Kenny to make sure if he is hallucinating. Kenny told Boyd about the thing Fatima is doing. Then they go back to Colony House and Boyd asks Fatima what exactly is she's making. And she's making a golem. Then Boyd explains to Kenny that she's making a golem. It's a giant guardian made of clay. It's a part of a religious folklore and it's a symbol of hope. Later, Jade told Boyd the important question isn't why is Fatima making a golem? The important question is why is she making it now? Then when Boyd asked Fatima why she's doing this now, Fatima reveals she still feels connected to Smiley somehow. Part of her can feel what he feels and vice versa, which means Smiley can probably sense her fear too. And by making this golem, that's her way of fighting because that makes her feel stronger. And since they don't lose nothing from having a champion, they let her have her space. Then, as Boyd is about to head downstairs, a second ring literally falls near Boyd out of nowhere with the exact same infinity symbol on it. Boyd rushes back to compare it to Abby's ring, but when he looks back, the second ring disappears. And honestly, I don't think this is random anymore. Objects in this town might be story walking too, not just people. Then we get one of the creepiest Julie scenes yet. Julie cuts her hair shorter because the monsters grabbed her by the hair before, which honestly makes perfect sense survival-wise. But it's also important because she's starting to resemble the future version of herself more and more. Julie and Randall attempt the bookmark experiment. The plan is simple. She folds a piece of paper, enters the ruins, story walks into another chapter, draws the symbol, leaves the paper behind, and Randall pulls her back out. If the paper changes in the present, then bookmarks work. Julie crosses the threshold and suddenly ends up on the town's massacre. And this scene was insane, because this time we actually see the man in yellow feeding on bodies, and it honestly looked like he was eating organs, livers to be specific. The second Julie sees him, she panics, draws the symbol, drops the paper, and Randall pulls her out before the man in yellow can catch her. But the bookmark fails. And honestly, I think Julie's misunderstanding what a bookmark really is. I don't think the bookmark is just paper. I think it has to be a real connection to the time or person she wants to reach. An object, clothing, something emotionally tied to that moment, which honestly sounds very similar to how the man in yellow shapeshifts. He probably uses personal connections or belongings too. Julie's powers and the man in yellow's abilities might literally run on the same mechanics. And if Julie ever wants to reach the earliest cycles, maybe she needs physical objects from those eras first. Which is why Boyd sending Acosta into storage might secretly become one of the most important storylines this season. Back to Donna and Tabitha. Donna gives Tabitha a really emotional speech, basically saying if somebody's going to risk their life doing something stupid, it should be her and not Tabitha. And that line feels like major death foreshadowing. Like From has this habit of making characters say beautiful emotional things right before the writers absolutely destroy them emotionally. Then along the way, Ethan finds an injured bird and believes the lake can heal it. And this moment feels important because Ethan's belief system in the show keeps weirdly becoming reality. The same kid that talked about story walking before it was real now believes in a magical healing lake. So I'm not ruling anything out anymore. Finally, Donna's group reaches the settlement and spots those creepy scarecrows again. Jade mentioned they're supposed to ward off evil spirits, which honestly just makes them even creepier. Ethan is still focused on the bird he found because he believes the Lake of Tears can heal it. And weirdly enough, he might not be completely wrong because birds almost never appear in this town outside of crows. And then we finally arrive at the lake. Tabitha and Donna start dripping water onto the bird to test Ethan's theory. Then one of the townspeople pulls a random rope underwater because apparently curiosity kills more than cats in this town. And right as this happens, and something rises from the lake, and whatever came out of there looked absolutely disgusting. This episode really felt like the town itself is waking up. The voices are getting louder, the cycles are repeating faster. The man in yellow is becoming more active. Julie's powers are evolving. Fatima is preparing for something. And everybody keeps talking about running out of time.